What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, I'm officially predicting the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series schedule. NASCAR said in recent months that they're expecting to make some pretty big shakeups to the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Let's go ahead and take a look at my predictions for the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series schedule. We're going to go ahead and start talking about February 4th. Now, I predict that NASCAR is going to return to the LA Coliseum in 2024. Now, some people think that there's a potential possibility that this race could become a points-paying race in 2024. I do not expect this to be the case. I think the Busch Light Clash, once again in 2024, is going to return at the LA Coliseum. The LA Coliseum is a quarter-mile track, and if you don't really want to put 40 cars, Cup cars, or 36 Cup cars for that matter, on a racetrack at once, the racing's not going to be good, and it's going to be a terrible product, and people are not going to want to come back to that racetrack. So I predict in 2024, the LA Coliseum will return, but once again, as the Busch Light Clash. After that, on February 18th, is going to be the Daytona 500. You'll have all the festivities for Speed Weeks. Thursday, you'll have the duels. Wednesday night, you'll have qualifying. Friday, you'll have the Truck Series race. Saturday, you'll have the Xfinity Series race and the ARCA race. And then Sunday, of course, you're going to have the Daytona 500. This has already been officially announced and confirmed for February 18th. And the 2024 Daytona 500 will continue on its scheduled year, as it will be like the 64th or 65th Daytona 500. It will continue in 2024 on February 18th. After that, the West Coast Swing is going to take place, and there's going to be some changes to the West Coast Swing in 2024, as Auto Club Speedway will not be returning in 2024. So on February 25th, I expect that Las Vegas is going to move from the third race to the second race of the 2024 season. This will not be the first time of Las Vegas will be the second race of the season. It's back, I believe, in 2020, Las Vegas was the second race of that season. I think Las Vegas returns as the second race of 2024 on February 25th. After that, on March 3rd, there's going to be some changes. With Las Vegas being moved to the second race of the 2024 season, my prediction is that Sonoma Raceway, which is in early June, is going to be moved to earlier in the year. I've said this publicly multiple times, that I believe that Sonoma Raceway should be earlier in the year. The weather a lot of times is better. Yes, you have the potential rain, but that's one of the reasons why you do have rain tires available for road course tracks. Sonoma should be earlier in the season. I think the weather's a lot better, and I think a road course should be in the first couple weeks of the year to kind of shake up the schedule just a little bit. So my prediction is that Sonoma will be the third race of the season and the second race of the West Coast Swing. After that, on March 10th, Phoenix Raceway is going to return as a final race of the West Coast Swing and the fourth race of the season. And Phoenix, once again, will have two races in 2024. While Phoenix Raceway has not put on the greatest racing in the world, they still got a really, really good facility. So I expect no changes here in 2024. After that, on March 17th, we'll be headed to Atlanta Motor Speedway for the first of two times in 2024. And once again, it will continue to host a super speedway-like racing it has had the last couple years. Now, by this time, I think there might be some changes to the track in Atlanta. The track is starting to age really, really quickly. So I think the track will go through some changes by this point in 2024. And we'll have the super speedway-like racing as the fifth race of the season. After that, on March 24th, we'll be headed back to Circuit of the Americas. While they have not renewed for 2024 at this point, it's expected that Circuit Americas, especially with how great the facility has been and the racing was in 2023, I would expect this track to be back on the schedule as the second road course race, not the first road course race, the second road course race of the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. Track produced great racing in 2023, and I think it will continue doing that in the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. After that, on March 31st, which is going to be Easter week, we will have Bristol. Now, the question is going to be, will it be the dirt race or the regular Bristol? If you want my honest opinion, especially with the fact that they have not announced at this point that Bristol Dirt is coming back, I predict that there is going to be an Easter Sunday or Easter evening after race where Bristol Dirt will not be back. I think especially the fact that a lot of people have been against Bristol Dirt and a lot of fans were frustrated with it and drivers were kind of iffy about the event overall, and especially if a lot of the event in the weather and stuff. I think that Bristol is going to become a concrete race. There's going to be two concrete dates at Bristol, and there's going to be a day race once again in 2024. After that, on April 7th, we're going to head to Richmond Raceway. But this is going to be the only time we're going to be racing at Richmond Raceway, as Richmond is only going to have one date in the 2024 calendar. While Richmond had a really good race in 2023, the attendance has not been very great at Richmond Raceway and has been declining over the last few years. So I think it's going to decline once again, and I think it's going to go down from 2 dates to 1 date in 2024. After that, on April 14th, we're going to be headed to Martinsville Raceway. And once again, it's going to be a day race. Martinsville Raceway is one of the best tracks on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, and I think the racing is going to get better and better and better, especially as NASCAR continues work on the next-gen car. I know the last two races of the track with the next-gen car have not been great, but Martinsville is one of the best racetracks, and I think it will continue to be a great track for many years down the road on the NASCAR schedule. After that, on April 21st, we're going to be headed to Talladega Superspeedway, as Talladega will continue to host 2 dates in 2024. Talladega, one of the best tracks on the NASCAR circuit as well, and always brings in a fantastic crowd, and the racing itself is generally really, really good at Talladega Superspeedway. It's going to continue hosting 2 dates in 2024, and will continue to host a date that it's had the last few years, as I believe the 8th or 9th race of the season, it will continue hosting that April date. After that, on April 28th, we're going to be racing at Dover Speedway. Now, Dover, there's no doubt, has been a lot of secrets at Dover. Probably should have moved a little bit later in the year. However, I think with how my schedule's kind of laid out, I think Dover is going to remain during the same week. And it's unfortunate because while the racing at Dover has been pretty good, the weather itself has not been fantastic at Dover Speedway. So I would love to move Dover back a little bit farther into the season, but I can't see that happening in 2024. I think Dover will continue having its late April date, and April 28th will be the Cup race at Dover. After that, on May the 5th, there is going to be some changes to the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, as I predict that Worldwide Technology Raceway is going to move from the first weekend of June to the first weekend of May. As someone who's lived in the St. Louis area all my life, a lot of times the weather in early June tends to be a lot warmer. Sometimes you tend to have a little bit of cooler temperatures, but my prediction is that the Cup race at Worldwide Technology Raceway is going to move to a little bit earlier in the season in the first weekend of May. The weather is going to be a lot better. Yes, there's potential of rain in the area, and St. Louis tends to get hit by some pretty big storms, especially in early May and late April. But I predict that Worldwide Technology Raceway moves to a little bit earlier in the season and moves to the first weekend of May. After that, on May the 12th, is going to be the beginning of the Carolina Swing. And the first race of that Carolina Swing on May the 12th is going to be at Darlington Raceway, and it's going to continue being the throwback race. Now, Darlington, the question is going to be, will continue to have 2 dates long term, because the crowds have not been fantastic at Darlington over the years when they do have 2 races, and they've been dwindling the last couple of years. Plus, Kansas Speedway is also going to end up losing a day in 2024 because of the fact that they're going to be losing a date. But Darlington Raceway will be the first race of the Carolina Swing and will happen on May the 12th. Track always provides great and fantastic racing and will continue happening on May 12th. After that, on May the 19th, we're obviously having North Wilkesboro in 2023 as the All-Star race. I predict that North Wilkesboro is going to be a points-paying race in 2024, and I think that Rockingham Speedway is going to come back and it's going to host the All-Star race. Rockingham Speedway has been publicly trying to get back onto the NASCAR Cup Series schedule for the last few seasons, and I think in 2024 it's going to happen. Rockingham has not hosted a NASCAR date in the Cup Series date, I should say, since 2004 season, a points-paying date, and it won't be a points-paying date, but I think they're going to have their tryout race with a lot of crowd out there and continue the Carolina run, and they're going to make their official return in 2024. After that, on May the 26th, is once again going to be the Coco 600 on the traditional Memorial Day weekend. You'll have the Monaco GP in the morning, the Indy 500 in the afternoon, in the late morning, early afternoon, and then you have the Coke 600 in the late afternoon and the early evening. It will transition from daytime to the nighttime. Coke 600, always one of my favorite races of the year, one of my favorite weekends of the year as well, and it will continue hosting its traditional weekend where the Coke 600 will take place on May 26th. After that, on June the 2nd, we obviously know the North Wilkesboro is going to be back once again. It's likely going to be back in 2024. But a lot of people think there's a really good chance that it's going to be a points-paying event in 2024. My prediction is that North Wilkesboro is going to come back as an officially a points-paying event in the 2024 season, especially after the success of the Truck Series and with the Cup race coming up here later this evening. I think that race could end up being very, very successful as well. But I think in 2024, North Wilkesboro is going to come back as a points-paying event. The fans really wanted to come back. I think the Xfinity Series is also going to join in that same weekend as well. I really want to see North Wilkesboro once again as a points-paying event, and I think it is going to end up happening in the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. North Wilkesboro makes his official return to the Cup Series schedule. After that, on June the 9th, there's going to be some changes to the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Obviously, Sonoma Raceway is going to be moving to the West Coast Swing. So what racetrack is going to replace that on June the 9th? Well, my prediction for 2024 is that Chicagoland Speedway is going to make its official return to the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Chicagoland has not hosted a NASCAR Cup Series race since 2019. They were supposed to host a NASCAR Cup Series race in the 2020 season, but unfortunately they kind of got screwed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Chicagoland's been trying to get back on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, and they have said publicly that if the Chicago Street Course event does not end up happening, that this track could be a major backup plan. I think Chicagoland, regardless if it's a backup plan or not, I think it's going to make the official return to the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. I think a lot of fans are going to show up. We all know that the Next Gen cars race really, really strong on the mile-and-a-half tracks and some of the bigger ovals. I think Chicagoland is going to make its official return. After Chicagoland Speedway, we're going to have a couple weeks off, basically 1 weekend off, and then we're going to return on June 23rd at Nashville Super Speedway. Now, the future of Nashville Super Speedway past 2024 is uncertain, as right now it will be the last year of that 4-year contract that started back in 2021. And it's no secret that last year's attendance in 2022 was not very good, and we're not sure, well, it's down compared to 2021, and we're not sure how the attendance is going to be in 2023 or 2024. But I would love seeing Nashville Super Speedway continue on a long-term basis and stay on the schedule long-term. But I do expect that they're going to return in 2024 and continue having great racing and great facilities long-term. It will return on June 23rd. After that, on June the 30th, I think that there's going to be some pretty big changes to the schedule right here, because my prediction is while the Chicago Street Course does have a 3-year deal, Brandon Johnson, who's the new mayor of Chicago, has said publicly that he's going to be looking at the contracts. With all the negative publicity that Chicago Street Course has gotten and a lot of fans not being very happy about the event, I think the Chicago Street Course is going to be a one-and-done thing. And my prediction is for 2024 is that NASCAR is going to make a return after a 2-year absence or 1-year absence. I think they are going to return to Road America. Road America have fantastic attendance, and with the next-gen car and the better racing on road courses, I think the racing will be much better than the previous couple years that we had seen at Road America. A lot of fans are clamoring for Road America to make the return back to the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, and I predict that that is going to happen. Fans want it back, and I think as a fan myself, Road America got done dirty. They deserve an opportunity and a shot to have a NASCAR Cup Series day once again in 2024. After Road America on June the 30th, on July the 7th, we're going to be returning to Atlanta Super Speedway or Atlanta Motor Speedway as once again a 400-mile race on a Sunday evening. Obviously, Atlanta Motor Speedway I expect to have 2 dates in the 2024 season as the attendance has definitely improved and the racing should be pretty decent as well. Plus, the weather being a little bit cooler in the evening, I think as a night race, it is going to provide a pretty exciting and fun adventure for the fans who are at that track. Plus, Atlanta is a good track to a lot of people. Though I'm not the biggest fan of the Super Speedway aesthetic of the race, it will expect it to be continued in 2024. After the Cup Series race in Atlanta June the 7th, on July the 14th, we will return to New Hampshire Motor Speedway. New Hampshire gelled very, very well in 2022 with the next-gen car, and I think that will continue in the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series season. New Hampshire, a track that's become one of my favorite and most underrated tracks on the circuit, will continue on its day in 2024. After New Hampshire, on July the 21st, we'll be returning to Pocono Speedway. This race last year was incredibly underrated. Was very, very good, had great racing up front, a controversial ending. We had DQ between Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin, both of them who were top 2 finishers, ended up getting disqualified. But Pocono will continue having 1 day, plus when they cut it down from 2 days to 1 day, the attendance absolutely improved. NASCAR cutting some tracks down to 1 day has actually been the right call, as it has helped attendance at some of these racetracks. I expect Pocono to continue the same, and their attendance to get better, and will continue having their 1 day in 2024. After Pocono, on July the 28th, we're going to be going to a new racetrack, and we're going to be going across the border for the first time in a long time with the NASCAR Cup Series. We're going to be going to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the first time in 2024. NASCAR has said publicly that they want to start going international in the 2024 season. They're looking to go international, and I would believe they would start with Canada and Mexico. Now, a lot of people look at them maybe going to some street courses, but I think with Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, especially how well the Xfinity Series cars raced there for the many years they raced there, they never had a bad race at that racetrack. I think the Cup cars would excel. They would do extremely well, and the fans in Canada would welcome them. I know there's Canadian Tire and Mosport as well, but I think it would make a lot of sense for NASCAR to go to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It'd be a great track to race at, and I think NASCAR definitely has a shot of going there, and I think it will happen in the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. After that, on August 4th, we're going to be racing at Michigan Speedway once again, but just like 2022 and 2023, it will only host one race. Michigan in 2022 was a very awesome crowd. They've already sold out the infield camping, and I think that will happen once again in 2024 as well. Michigan also had their best race in many, many years. The racing was really, really strong with the next-gen car and absolutely superb and very excellent, and I think that is going to continue and a trend that's going to continue for many years to come at Michigan Speedway. After that, on August 11th, there is going to be another major schedule change that is going to take place. Obviously, we're going to be once again racing in Indianapolis, but there's a lot of talk and conversation about the Brickyard potentially returning in 2024. I think that is going to happen. In 2024, for the first time since 2020, the Brickyard 400 is going to return. Look, as much as I've been a fan of the Indy Road Course lease for the first year, I think returning to the Brickyard would make a lot of sense. And I know a lot of people are against the Brickyard 400 coming back, but I've seen a little more outgrowing support from fans who do want it back as well. I think the track deserves to come back. I know we are already racing Indianapolis, but I think returning to Brickyard makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of talk about it, so I think there's a really good chance that it could either be an alteration between the Indy Road Course and the Brickyard or just being permanent. I think the Brickyard 400, though, makes its official return in 2024. Drivers really run it. It's a crown jewel event, and I think the chances of it happening are very high. It will happen in 2024. After that, on August the 18th, we're going to be heading to Watkins Glen Speedway. Watkins Glen has been a staple on the schedule for many years on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, and has been obviously probably for me, my favorite road course track every single year on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. I think it's going to be a really, really good race. I think it's going to be very, very fun. Track always provides great racing and always sometimes has very great finishes. You look back to 2012, 2011, other races that have happened at this track. I think Watkins Glen makes its official return on August 18th and be the second to last race before the final race of the regular season. And finally, on August 24th, we will have the final race of the regular season at Daytona International Speedway on Saturday night, the first Saturday night race on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. Daytona has been basically the regular season finale for the last few years. It has been very successful. Yes, a little controversial in 2022 with how a lot of cars ended up wrecking, had a surprise winner, Austin Dillon get in, but sometimes you're going to have that happen on the NASCAR Cup Series. And I think Daytona will continue to be a great race. I was not a fan of the decision when they made the decision back in 2019, but I think this decision has been a great decision for the last few years and has been a fun racetrack to race on. And now we're going to get into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Let's start off with the round of 16. The first race of the round of 16, which will take place on September 1st, which will be part of Labor Day weekend, is going to be, of course, the Southern 500. The Southern 500 is one of the most technical races where you have to have, it's basically man versus machine. Can your car survive? We saw at the end of last year's race where a lot of cars had major issues with it. I think that could continue in 2023 and 2024 as well. It's going to be race of attrition and race survival, and it will continue on its September 1st date in the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. After that, on September the 8th, we're going to be headed to Kansas Speedway. As you noticed earlier in the schedule, I predicted Kansas was going to lose one of their dates. The reason being is because the attendance at Kansas Speedway has been really, really going downhill over the last few years. They did not have the greatest crowd in the 2022 or the 2021 years in the past. And I think even though the racing in Kansas is always superb and really, really awesome, I believe that they're going to lose a day because of that attendance. Unless they can find a way to increase attendance for the spring race, I think they're sadly going to lose a day in 2024. And the final race of the round of 16 is going to take place September 14th at Bristol Motor Speedway as the second and last Saturday night event. Bristol has been the cutoff race for the last 2 years and has generally been a really exciting and fun race overall. And I think it will continue being a great race. There's always a lot of great short track tempers that take place, and the racing at the track is always very, very good at Bristol. And I think that is going to continue in the 2024 season, and it'll be very, very fun. After that, let's get into the round of 12. The first race of the round of 12 is going to take place on September 22nd at Texas Motor Speedway as the only race on the Texas schedule. And once again, it will be a 400-mile race, as in 2023, they're cutting it down from 500 miles to 400 miles. Texas Motor Speedway is probably my least favorite track on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule, but I think at least it deserves one option to have a date on the schedule. And even though I wish Texas would just completely go away, I don't see NASCAR just completely getting rid of Texas Motor Speedway off the schedule. So I predict it will only have one date in the 2024 season, and it will happen in the fall. After that, on September 29th, we'll be racing at Talladega Superspeedway as the second race of the round of 12. Talladega Superspeedway, like I mentioned earlier, my favorite tracks on the schedule. It'll be very intense. It makes a lot of sense to be in the middle of the schedule. Some people would definitely love to have Talladega back as a cutoff race, but I think that this race will once again be very, very superb and will be great, and it will continue hosting as the second race of the round of 12. And then the final race of the round of 12 is going to take place on October 6th at the Charlotte Roval. Now, Charlotte Roval has definitely been dropping a lot in the TV ratings, and a lot of people probably like to see Charlotte Motor Speedway come back as a mile-and-a-half race. I do disagree. I think the Charlotte Roval is going to come back once again in 2024. Look, I know 2022 was not a good race at the track, but I think it will be better in 2023, and I think it will continue being a race that you never know what's going to happen, especially at the end of these races on road courses. It will continue being the cutoff race. And now we're going to get into the round of 8. The first race of the round of 8 will once again be on October 13th at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Las Vegas once again will have 2 dates. Now, Las Vegas is a good racetrack in my opinion and an underrated racetrack on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. And last year's fall race at Las Vegas was one of the best races of the 2022 season. And we saw a fantastic finish between Joey Logano and Ross Chastain. I think that will continue in 2024, and it will be a great track in the round of 8. After that, on October the 20th, I'm expecting some changes. I think that Phoenix Raceway is going to be moved off as being the season finale of the Cup schedule, and I think it's going to be moved to the second race of the round of 8. Look, Phoenix Raceway, they have a great facility. No doubt about that. But I think the most important thing that needs to come into play is the racing on the track. I think racing has to be the most important thing. And that's why, while I wish Phoenix Raceway could definitely be maybe season finale, it's got to be a racetrack that provides better racing. And Phoenix, while it did improve in 2023, I don't think it's going to be good enough to be the season finale. So I predict it will move to the second to last race. Plus, it makes a lot more sense. We'll have Las Vegas and Phoenix back-to-back. It makes a lot more sense as well. After that, on October 27th, we'll be returning to Martinsville Speedway as the final race of the round of 8. Martinsville Speedway last year had the incredible Hail Melon move, and I think you'll see some more incredible moves happen in more track tempers, baiting and banging, and a lot of chaos that comes in suit when it comes to that. So it will once again be the second to last race of the season and the final race of the round of 8. It will be the race that'll decide who will get into the championship for the season. It'll be the last race. And finally, the last race of the 2024 season and the championship race will return to its rightful place at Homestead Miami Speedway. Now, Homestead Miami Speedway has not hosted the season finale since 2019 season. And while the facility does need to be upgraded, I think NASCAR should work on getting some upgrades at Homestead because this racetrack provides fantastic racing. And with the next-gen car, it did a pretty good job last year in 2023. And I think a lot of fans, including myself, have been pushing for Homestead to be the season finale. I think that's going to happen in 2024. I think NASCAR is going to listen to the fans, and I think they make the decision and the call to move this race as a season finale in 2024. I think they're going to move Homestead back to the season finale. So, that is going to be it for the official 2024 NASCAR Cup Series schedule predictions. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe to the channel. Notifications on so if I win a video, does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links description below over that, and comment your thoughts below on today's video. What are your 2024 NASCAR Cup Series schedule predictions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Later this evening on the channel, we're going to have the All-Star Race Review. Then tomorrow on the channel, we are going to have NASCAR News video on the channel discussing news over the last couple of days. And we're also going to have the Truck Series race fix for Charlotte as well. And we got a lot of other really good content on the way, so make sure to tune into that as well. We're also trying to reach 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you enjoyed today's special video, I really hope you enjoy and you like and subscribe. Got a lot of great content on the way that I think you're going to enjoy. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's special video, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.